The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure communication procedures, Condor.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
Our fifth objective, a new world order.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West.
Right-wing conspiracy.
What do you call it when the assassins accuse the assassin?
A new world order.
Thank you for plugging in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
Well, just a second there, Professor. We fixed the glitch.
I'm your host, Professor Thomas Henry Horan.
He reads everything.
You better bet your bibbies he reads everything. Every penny counts. Thank you very much. Let me get back to the money. You're going to have to watch me put this together. The evidence has fallen into place. These people, these shadow people I've been chasing for 40 or 50 years, they've existed all along. It's just nobody noticed. Nobody. The Etruscans, did the Etruscans become the Hellenized Jews? This is a tantalizing question. Almost, but not quite. Here's the dealio. Here's what we have to look at. Here's why the kingdom of Israel, all of these slides are out of order. Okay, the real kingdom of Israel was actually north of Israel. Shut up. Okay. Yeah, what I have to do now is, let me move these illustrations to later. And I need to, because this can be a book now. I have enough just simple hard evidence now. I can turn this whole thing into a book. And it lays the foundation for the cult I'm talking about. How this morphs into the child sacrificing Viking cult. The child sacrificing Reformed Christian cult that I'm gonna blame for everything. This is the complete history of that. So let me take this. Okay, now let me talk about this. Okay, it's not the Etruscans. I know the correct answer. They exist. They've existed forever. Okay, here's the dealio. There was a kingdom of Israel, and it did exist around 850 BC, 900 BC, up to about 7. It probably kind of got its teeth kicked in 853 BC. The 2,000 chariots went up in smoke because they weren't really from there. Let me show you. Let me show you how I figured this out with the help of AI. AI did help a lot. When Tiglath-Pileser III, affectionately known as Tiggles, why this Battle of Karkar that mentions Ahab the Israelite sending, out of the goodness of his heart, 2,000 chariots and 10,000 infantry. King so-and-so of Damascus led 1,200 chariots, 13,000 infantry. Lord so-and-so of Nibon led 300 chariots, blah, blah, blah. Ahab the Israelite sent 2,000 chariots. But this, when you realize it's all about the money, I think what he did was he sent a check. I think he sent a check for 2,000. You'll see. But Tiggles goes home with his bloody teeth in a sock because he fails to win this battle. Why does it matter? He's trying to break into the Jezreel Valley where Megiddo is located. Israel was way up in the north. Okay? Israel was up in the north. On this map you're seeing here, I can zoom in. Israel is not connected to Judah, which I have in purple in the south. Next to Gaza, where the Philistines are. That was Judah. At one time probably known as Israel. The Israel we're looking for is way up here in the north. All the way up to Almina. Okay? And actually bordering, I think it included part of Phoenicia because it borders Troy. It borders the territory of Troy, which a lot of historians place in 850 BC. It's part of this war, or part of the consequences of this battle that results in a bloody draw. It is a bloody draw. And supposedly, these Israelite chariots and infantry put a stop, like they just stopped Tiglath in his track. The reason this is important is because when you realize it's all about the money, you realize that if Tiglath wins the Battle of Karkar and takes the Jezreel Valley, he has cut off the Western Syndicate's contact over here with the whole Western world. The Phoenician Empire, the old Minoan Empire, which is now dominated but not owned by the Phoenicians. There are other people who arise. This is a franchise system like McDonald's. It's not a franchise, but you're like it's like the Independent Grocers Association, the IGA grocery stores. And they compete, and competition is good for the customers. You go down the coast, you know, you've got Phoenician, you've got Etruscan, you've got Philistine ports you can deal with or not. Ships, sometimes they're exclusive, sometimes not. Each of these ports owns its own fleet of ships. You get rebates, you get frequent flyer miles. And when they're successful, they put out colonies. The Greeks didn't invent this. The Greeks learned this from them. From the original syndicate. Why this is important is because if Tiglath takes the Jezreel Valley, he cuts off their contact with Elath down, which is now Aqaba, which is eventually going to be taken over by the Nabateans. This is that contact with the spice road I was telling you about. He wants to control all of this, plus the fact this is becoming the land of milk and honey and wine and wool. Okay, this northern kingdom of Israel, it might actually include a big chunk of Phoenicia as far as that marker is concerned, where they give him all the credit, okay, for swinging the balance. The reason this is important is because if it's all about the money, the next thing that happens, remember, okay, the Phoenicians and Etruscans will lose connection. That's an incentive to send the money. Now, let me give you a preview here. I've shown you this before. I showed you this before. This is all about the money. I think I showed you this last year. Okay? Later on, the Romans are going to come back and go right straight down that same back door. But they're not going to go in through the front door of Jezreel. They're going to go in through the back door of Jerusalem and Jericho, and they're going to sneak down here with the help of the Nabateans. And they're going to bypass the Philistines in Gaza. They're going to bypass the Egyptians, the Ptolemies. They're going to set up they're going to bypass that. But this is going to be a real shaky connection because they're still not going to control the Jezreel Valley. Or do they? There's that bullshit where that king of Ephesus leaves his kingdom to Rome. See, this is where all this starts to come into play. You see, it's all about there was this trade route, it gets broken, and somebody tries to put it back together again. And it's all about the money. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. So the next thing that happens is, okay, here's what you need to know about this. Hold on a minute. This kingdom, okay, this real kingdom of Israel, spoke a weird language. It's a Creole of, It's a Creole of Hebrew, Proto-Hebraic, and some Eastern Semitic, but with a lot of business loan words from the Phoenician language, not from the Babylonian, Assyrian, Sumerian languages, from the Phoenician language. The business jargon of the syndicate is included in the language the original Israelites spoke, and this is how we know this. From inscriptions and things, okay? Their script, the Proto-Hebraic scripts. There's a north and a south version. In the north, there is a hybrid version that becomes Aramaic when it's blended with Eastern Arabic and Persian scripts. Okay? They start plugging in vowels using consonants. Like you put it in a funny like superscript or something, you know they have 4 consonants four vowels made up of consonants. And we know that's the dialect that they used because that becomes Aramaic. And we have inscriptions written this way from this general area, closer to the coast. And this script becomes, it's not just Phoenician that becomes Hebrew and Etruscan scripts. They actually branch off from this one proto-script that uses 4 consonants as vowels. And this is what excited me this morning. This is why I had to change my pants, because I got so excited because I found the concrete proof of what I was looking for. I was zeroing in on this shit. I programmed this AI last year. I said, forget religion. I said, look at the letters of Paul and the other, what's going on here if it's not religion? And it said, well, the letters of Paul are very concerned with organization of finance. And I said, yeah, I said, what if it's all about the money? And it said, oh, well, then that makes it very simple. And it just showed it's all about the money. And I said, well, let's go through the rest of history, and it's all about the money. I had it programmed to think it's all about the money. It's all about the money. And I was right. I called this script Israelish, but there's an Israelish dialect of language, which is a Northern Hebrew mixed up with some Eastern shit, mixed up with some Trojan Greek shit. And that was Israelish, I think. And they had a script. And that script does not become Proto-Hebraic. That script will morph into, one of the things it morphs into is the Etruscan script. But the Etruscan script has vowels, just like the Euboean script. This is what blew my fucking mind. Right, there's a Phoenician Canaanite Creole, and then there's this okay, that's a duplicate slide. So then what happened was, you can't see me, but you don't care. Then what happened was in 722, what's his name? Is this Nebuchadnezzar? This isn't Nebuchadnezzar. Shit. I can never keep these assholes straight. It doesn't matter. In 722, the northern kingdom of Israel is conquered by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Is that Sargon II? Is this Sargon II? And he takes the northern princes hostage. But what we know from archaeology and other linguistic evidence is he transplants them. Here's what the Neo-Assyrian... You need to see my face or you won't know what I'm talking about. What he does is, listen to me. Here's what they do. The original Akkadian Empire, Assyrian Empire, was based on cuneiform clay tablets and cuneiform clay money. Let me draw a distinction. Money. I need money. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I need money. Let's see. Where is the money? Okay. Okay, now, this is not paper money. This is paper currency. Technically, it's paper money because it is a promissory note. But this is paper currency. I'm not talking about paper currency. I'm talking about paper money. I'm talking about paper money. I'm talking about, a check or a bank draft or a letter of credit or a bond or anything like that. Not like a stock. Okay? Paper money. Paper money can be made of clay. The difference is currency passes from buyer to seller. Paper money passes from debit to credit. Paper money travels from one page of a ledger to another. Paper money travels from one ledger to another. That's paper money, okay? The Sumerian paper money system had collapsed because there was nothing in the Federal Reserve granaries, literally. And word got out about that, and their empire was gone. There was a military attempt to reestablish the empire. That's the Assyrian Empire, I think. I don't keep those assholes straight very well. I need to. What happens is, in the West, they had been using by default metal as reserve for an alternative paper money. And this becomes successful. This becomes Israel. And they're plugged into the Phoenician Empire. And they're plugged into the Spice Road. What the Neo-Assyrians do is they grab them and transplant them all across their Eastern Empire. They are setting up the syndicate. This is the birth of the syndicate, and it was done on purpose. They weren't kidnapped. They may have volunteered. And this becomes the Eastern Syndicate of what the Romans will mislabel as Jews. But this becomes the Eastern Syndicate officially. And it comes from the Northern Kingdom of Israel. However, they don't grab them all. Some of them get away, okay? The 10 lost tribes of Israel become the Eastern Syndicate. This is where the 10 lost tribes of Israel went. Are there 10 cities? Nineveh, Babylon, Susa, Media, Bactria, Sogdiana, several places in the Indus Valley. That accounts for 7. There's evidence for this. That's what happens to them. Maybe the tribe of Dan goes all the way north to Byzantium. Who knows? But in the West, the 2 surviving tribes become just Judah and the Alexandrian community. And so in this area of the East, in this empire of the East, the 10 lost tribes develop Israelish script into Aramaic. Across this area, Aramaic evolves into the Koine of business. And it is based on this, whereas in the South, in Judah, they stuck with the Phoenician consonant-only script. Are you with me? That's how we can tell the difference. If they're using Proto-Aramaic, they're part of the Kingdom of Israel, which was plugged in not only to the Phoenician Empire, but it had incorporated a novelty introduced by some particular Greeks that we're going to look at in just a second. What's the difference between Hebrew and Linear B, for example? Okay, so the 10 lost tribes become the Eastern Syndicate. There we go. And they develop into Aramaic. The 2 unlost tribes in the West, they skipped Israelish and went straight to Paleo-Hebrew. And the priests have a monopoly on this. See, this is where it gets important. In the South, the priests are the only ones who know the vowels. They memorize the correct pronunciation. Modern Masoretic texts have the jots and tittles of the law, the diacritical marks or the pronunciation guide, the vowels that make the law make sense. Otherwise, you can interpret it all kinds of ways. Thou shalt commit adultery. Not quite like that. But in the North, and this will go all the way across Aramaic and all the way across Koine Greek even, not only the Etruscan script, but with the vowels in place, the priests no longer have this monopoly on reading the law correctly. Are you with me? But in the South, in Judah, the two unlost tribes, and this all gets united under Hezekiah, okay? Let me get... Hezekiah, okay? Hezekiah in Jerusalem and everything south of Samaria, he's a local. He's a local. He is converted to the new operating system. And at the same moment in time, Tarquinio the Elder, in this mudhole calling itself Roma, set up franchises. Set up franchises of the Western of the new syndicate. This syndicate will be severed, but not broken. Hezekiah will set up shop for the Neo-Assyrians, but he's double dealing with the Phoenicians and Etruscans. You will see. That's why they get invaded again. The first time was a hostile takeover and relocation. The second time was punishment. But that's the point. I'll come back to Tarquinio in another episode. So then the western branch of the syndicate develops, okay, maybe this. Copy and paste this one for now. So in this area, the western branch of the Israeli script becomes Greek and Etruscan. Two variations of a fully vowelized alphabet. There's also a difference between an alphabet and syllabary, but that just helps us keep track of who's doing what. And these are parallel. They're not one after the other. And here's the thing about the Etruscans and the Romans. It's only the jargon of business. There is no Etruscan language. DNA has proven that the Etruscans were just unwashed Italians. And what happens is when Tiglath shuts off, just smashes Israel, there are some refugees who go west. And they include, well, you already have some Greeks called Euboeans, which I think are Troyans. I think they include the Troyans. The Euboeans, I misspelled this. They are Israeli-speaking Greek merchants of the Trojan coast. There is this battle in this siege of Troy way back in like 1150, but there's another war around 850 BC that fits and like it fits, and it fits this. And then what happens is the Euboean Greeks turn around and machine gun each other Trojan style. So the Iliad and stuff is actually probably about, and archaeologists have said this for years, there's more than one Trojan War. The second Trojan War is a civil war, which sounds a lot more like the Trojan War we're familiar with, although there is a Trojan War that goes all the way back to 1150. But this fits the time of David, and that's why it's very possible that Goliath fought in this second Trojan War, which is more of a civil war among the Euboean Greeks. Euboean Greeks. The oh boy Greeks. These are the oh boy Greeks. And they become... Is there a map of this? Yes. And what happens is survivors. There are survivors. So in the east, the captive Israelites set up the syndicate all across the east, all the way almost to India. And in the west, the survivors, who were more Greek than they were Israeli, but you've got intermarriage, you've got Ahab marrying off his sister many, many times, literally. And so you get these people who, they're from Troy, they're from the Trojan coast, and they're consultants, and they set up shop. They set up colonies, but they don't have enough of their own people. These are just leaders. These are just experts. A small boatload of experts jump ashore all over the Italian peninsula and Sicily, and where are some other places? This is the real Aeneas. These are a bunch of Aeneases from the west coast of the original Israel. And they have this, they set up colonies habitually anyway. Now they really have to do this. So they go west and they take Israelish and they teach it, but to the local Italians. And they get off the boat and they say, listen up, wash your hands and count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Now, get your asses off your shoulders and we'll make some goddamn money. And they teach these Italians how to run a Trojan business. How to run a syndicate trading hub. You provide the infrastructure and the financing will come. The merchants will come and you provide this as a service. It's commerce as a service. You provide the shopping center. And this is an old-fashioned shop. So like you provide the cash registers. It's like a mall. It is like a mall with like one central cash register bank mostly. Unless it's, well, especially for wholesale transactions. See, these shopping centers had a retail side and a wholesale side. If you go to Pompeii, you know what they should do? They should rebuild Pompeii as a modern amusement park. Not on the physical site, but they should build one. It looks cool as shit. It looks a lot cooler than Vegas. It was the Vegas of the Roman world. It was a middle-class honeymoon destination. Started off as a bustling seaport. And they start adding more and more. So there's this tourist trap area of Pompeii that looks really cool. They had an automated system of donkey-drawn carts. And it was a honeymoon destination. You see all the sex imagery. Well, it was a honeymoon destination, second honeymoon destination. Okay, it was a very romantic place. And it was a tourist trap. So in the Roman times, when you got married, you didn't sit in a carriage driven by somebody else and get driven around like we do today. The groom would drive the carriage. So these were automated. They have these tracks, these grooved tracks that go all around the city. And apparently what you could do was, let's say you were a farmer, you had a good crop of apples this week. You would take them to Pompeii. And there are probably other cities did the same thing. Take them to Pompeii, and you rent a barrow for a day, maybe a half a day, maybe for one trip around the city. You load up the barrow, the donkey knows the way, it's bumper to bumper traffic, it's all automated. They probably have a couple of guys who guide the donkeys around. Oh, I want to go down this street. I want to go down that street. And you come back, you've sold your crop, and you pay the guy. And the next merchant loads it up. Or maybe they have found little huts where people had in their cart. They had a permanent barrow business. Maybe they take your crop and take it around and sell it for you. And then the wedding couple, they found a wedding chariot. They found this gilded chariot. It's a honeymoon chariot. It was automated. You didn't have to know how to drive a chariot to take the traditional chariot ride. And and then you got the husband handing the reins to the wife because now they're married. Now we know who's. You see what I mean? It's great. It's great. And you saw that there's that open air food truck. You saw that. You saw how modern that was, right? These people become the so-called Etruscans. We just call them that because of the area they were from. And they go up a river to Rome and set up shop there at the exact same time that Hezekiah sets up shop in Judah at the Jerusalem temple. And they do the same thing. Consolidate all your temples into one location and start collecting taxes on it. And we'll show you how to get fucking rich. And it's the exact same time. But there's a Western version, which is Hellenized Judaism, so to speak, Hellenized Israelism. And there's the Eastern version. And then there's the one in Jerusalem. And it's all about the money. But the thing is, then eventually, the goons they hire, well, the Romans are just different. The Romans are different. The Etruscans these were probably consultants who came to get the train back on the tracks. The Phoenicians go through a crash right at the same time, and the Etruscans are probably consultants sent from the home office to come get the train back on the tracks, and they make it even more successful. The Etruscans are very crazy people. Their artwork they kind of look like, and it's been confirmed by archaeologists, they sacrificed their own children. So did the Minoans, like Agamemnon, right? And Solomon. Abraham's supposed to sacrifice Isaac, but Isaac's not his son. We're going to talk about that. Isaac is not Abraham's son. But in the okay, we'll come back to, we'll go dark another time. The Romans will just kind of take over things. And then, okay, so the Etruscans become the Hellenized Jews, right? Let me see what happens here. Yeah, okay, here's a more detailed map of the Etruscans as Oiboean survivors. Now, AI, these are pretty cool, but it does misspell a lot of shit. This shows you all the places where they settled from here. The refugees from the Second Trojan War really did set up what become the so-called Etruscan cities. It's Graceland. Their art is so expensive, and it's cool if you're a teenager, but it's so Graceland. And they all have that really weird smile tattooed on their faces. They're the only ancient statues and artwork who smile consistently. And it's a really creepy smile, and they sacrificed their own children. And they were libertines, they were hedonists. You'll see. Now, what's this? So then you get this de facto division. This is by 250 BC. The purple area that you see is the eastern part of the syndicate that was established by the Persians. Well, originally by Sargon II, and this will be taken over by the Persians, and it will have its effect. There will always be connections. There are family connections, marriage connections. So in the West, you get a blend. You get some Hellenized Jews, and then you get some even grayer Hellenized Jews. And they set after. Okay, so Alexander's the next big deal, right? What Alexander does is he leaves Jerusalem alone. Yeah, I think this slide needs to be. I need to rephrase that. This is not quite correct. He leaves Jerusalem alone. He focuses on the Jezreel Valley. And he gets that train back on the tracks. But it doesn't last long. Are you with me? But the contact is, and of course it was always underground contact. Now you have some free flow. It's like East and West Germany. The wall comes down for a minute under Alexander. But then under the Diadochi, it falls apart really quickly. Oh, so that's because when Alexander moves in, they've been underground. It's not that big of a switcheroo. In the South, it's going to be a big switcheroo because Judah's more conservative, blah, blah, blah. They were never part of Israel, ever. But Israel, he can get Israel back on the tracks, and he spends a lot of time there. This is where he gets the train back on the tracks, is the old northern kingdom of Israel, the Jezreel Valley around Megiddo. So then, after the Seleucids and the Ptolemies and what all break apart, they establish this new temple there's another Jewish temple at Lantopolis, which is a suburb just north of Alexandria. There is this wealthy synagogue with all of these Hellenized Jews. The richest man in the world at that time, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. He's the oligarch of the synagogue, and they have their own temple, which is illegal under Jewish law. They're the Hellenized Jews, but they have their dark web contacts at the Jerusalem temple, which is still under the control of the. See, it gets real gray. Here's the thing. I think the Hellenized Jews of Alexandria are specifically defectors from Antioch. And Epiphanes, that's what he's chasing after. They take the ledgers with them. Antiochus Epiphanes, Antiochus IV. And he's the one who causes trouble in Jerusalem. He wants to put up a statue of himself in the temple in Jerusalem, right? He's the first one. Or he does do it. The abomination of desolation. This is a really shrewd legal move. And it was calculated. So the Maccabees rise up, and the Romans step in and shake hands with the Maccabees, right? This link is broken temporarily between the Jerusalem temple and the Alexandria temple, the Lantopolis temple. And later on, this is going to get revived again, and the Caesars are going to start laundering money through there, and I will show you how all that works. But this is where the Hellenized Jews really come in. And Antiochus actually captures Alexandria at one time. And these Hellenized Jews of Egypt and Syria become the Christians before there's a Christ. All that's about the money. Now here's where it gets interesting. Remember these images I showed you? See, I think this is going to be a good book, and I think I can put it into a book. Hi, 47. Remember these images. The owl, the great horned owl that protected commerce all the way on the Indus River, this town called Mehrgar, all the way back to 6500 BC, okay? The boob thing is important because remember, the thing about Romulus and Remus was they were nursed by a wolf. Now that's a very weird twist on the old Astarte legend where she nursed 2 wolf puppies, okay? That's not the only possible connection here. This is a great horned owl. This is the guardian goddess, a protector goddess of the night. Okay, and this is what I kept postponing. I still don't have this. Okay, so here we go. Let me show you. Let me just try this. Let me find. Give me one moment. I need to find. If you ever looked at Etruscan art, it's wild. It's like Rembrandt and Michelangelo doing black velvet paintings for Elvis. It's crazy. Look at some of this. Where's the one? Let me find the one I'm looking for. This ties it all together. Okay, I just got to go through my history and see. History. Okay. See, they misinterpret this shit. This article is wrong because it's based on these assumptions from the 1800s. Let me see. Oh, it's the same fucking... Okay, hold on. Give me a minute. Well, let's just look at some. I'm looking for one thing in particular. Let's just look at some. Let me zoom in here. Most of this, look, see the smile? See that creepy smile? So much of their artwork has that really creepy smile. There it is again. There's that really... Nobody in ancient art smiles except the Etruscans. They have that really creepy smile. And what's with the Japanese eyes, right? What the hell's going on there? There's one particular terracotta figure. I forgot to copy it. They were all into every kind of gender bending, orgies, child sacrifice. They were libertines. It looks like they may have died young. They're big into mermaids and mermen. It looks like they may have committed suicide. Like they may have died young on purpose. They may have really been everything. There's that really creepy smile. But there's one particular... But a lot of it is really cool. There's a lot of really cool art. See, here's Daphne Apollo. But it's not Daphne Apollo yet. This is, who the fuck is this? I'm trying to remember who this is. But it's clearly early Daphne Apollo. The Apollo, the transgender Apollo. Here's Atlas in a very sexy pose. See, look. You see the angel wings and you see the 2 snakes, right? Let me copy that one. Let me put that in the slideshow. It's the wrong one. There it is. Now, back to what the fuck I was doing. Here we go. It's all there's a lot of motion. Like, their artwork is cool. Like, before Rodin, these sculptors put a lot of motion into their sculptures. It's just a little gaudy. It's just something rich teenagers would buy. Because they are. It's Jethro Bodini. Okay? It's Italian hillbillies who are given the keys to a machine that prints money. Look, that's a creepy smile. Nobody else in the ancient world has that creepy smile. It's all over their artwork. There's weird shit that goes on, but it's partly because they're young. Oh, I'll never find it again. Where is that? Maybe, because I showed it to the AI. Maybe it still has a copy of it in a previous chat. Google Gemini, chat history. Yeah, this one again. This is where it gets crazy. Can I download this here? See, I'm also working on a process for writing books. This is another This is another Astarte. Not copy prompt, copy image. Copy image, paste image. Fuck. No. It is a fucking JPEG. This is supposed to be Juno Astarte. This is the Etruscan Juno. Uni. But look, she looks like Apollo. This will become Daphne Apollo. That's not the point. Okay. I know there's some other really good ones here. Why is this the only one? Where the fuck did it go? Oh, come on. Oh, okay. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. Come on. Come on. Did I not? I did. I know I showed it to the fucking AI. This is what I'm talking about. This is the crap I'm talking about. This kind of sexy shit. Hold on. This is Jupiter in the middle with two satyrs, and they're out partying. For what it's worth. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking those are human hands. He's wearing the skin of human beings. Those are supposed to be lion paws. No, that's Hercules. That's not Zeus. That's Hercules. That's the Etruscan Hercules, okay, for what that's worth or not worth. The one I'm looking for is right here. There we go. 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 This is the one right here. It needs a little bit of color correction. Okay, here's the punchline. Took all day. Sorry. Let me fix this picture. Color, color, color. Picture color options. Temperature, cooler, there we go. This is terracotta. This is Etruscan. This is a terrible picture of a really cool piece of art. What the fuck? What the fuck is the matter with you? Come on. Probably about as good as it's going to get. Let's tint. Close enough. Red, white, blue, and black. Yellow. This is the Etruscan Asherah. This is Astarte, wearing the goat-horned headdress of Asherah, a priestess of Asherah. This was placed, most likely, on... This would be placed... This was probably over the door of a tomb, I think. This is what these figures here would do. There's another version of her, Etruscan version of her. These bird-headed broads show up in Etruscan art too. That's what I'm looking for. They serve the same purpose. This is a scarecrow. This is a lot like a Medusa. This is an Etruscan Medusa. This was to scare away thieves. She's the protectress goddess of the night. And this is really well made. You notice how her right ear on our left-hand side has not quite fully emerged from the archway yet? And you see the perspective, those curved lines, it makes it look like she's emerging from a deep recessed, like a shell. See? And by the two ears being different degrees outside, it looks like she's kind of like going, what the hell are you doing out there? But she's got that creepy smile of the Etruscans. Look at this again. Look at that. The fucking masterpiece. That's terracotta. And you see the headdress, right, made from the skull cap of a goat, ears and all. And then it's on a nice cloth, it's been taxidermied very nicely. And this is the blue sky, and in the middle of the blue sky, where her third eye, right above her third eye, there's a diamond, and it's a ruby. This is a ruby. This represents Ishtar, the evening star, which in the Middle East can appear red at night because it's the dust in the air. This is Astarte. This is Asherah. This is the Etruscan Asherah. This is Sarah. And you find these, just like Medusas, you find them over vaults, tombs, treasure chests, mines. Yahweh had one of these. Yahweh and his Asherah. This is not Yahweh's Asherah. This is an Etruscan Asherah. I thought it's cool as shit. Their artwork is cool as shit. To be honest. Let's give them credit where credit is due. This one? There we go. That's the one I was really looking for. But they all have that creepy smile. And what in the hell does that mean? But it's mostly because they're just nouveau riche teenage hillbillies. They're just teenage hillbillies with too much money. Trying to buy class. But they are part of the syndicate. But there's an Etruscan, I thought there was an Etruscan bird-headed goddess. It performs the same function. But the Etruscans turn out not to be the original Hellenized Jews. They just turn out to be the original Romans. Yeah, they were all into wrestling. They were into the good life. They were into the good life. This shit's expensive. This is way... This stuff is expensive. They spent a fortune on this crap. It's Graceland. Look at that. It's gorgeous. It's also stupid and tacky. Some of it is gaudy. But it's all cool as shit. And they all have this weird, creepy smile. Or not. But they're part of the syndicate. And they teach the Romans how to count to 10. You can buy some of this crap. I want that counterfeit coin. In all of their inscriptions, it's just bureau speak. They speak the same local dialect of Italian that the Romans probably did. Or some different dialect. But the alphabet comes... It's all sex and money and sacrificing children. But they are going to do a lot of business with some very powerful Sarahs from the north. These Celtic mistresses of merchandise from the north. Lots of mirrors, cosmetics, luxury. These people lived in luxury. They just made a fortune off their neighbors. This is carved from, it's faded now. That was carved from something precious. See, look at some of this stuff. They control the future cities of, oh, Jesus, is it Genoa? Venice? Pisa? They don't really disappear. They just get absorbed by the Romans. It's cool shit, but it's wild. But you have these parallel competing trading networks that overlap. Their fingers intertwine. And competition is good for the customer. Right? Even this figure is smiling. It's got that creepy Asian, Chinese eyes, Japanese eyes smile. But the people I was looking for were the Oboyan Greeks. And I can trace these people right straight back to 6500 BC, Mehrgarh in Pakistan, on the Indus River in Pakistan. I can trace this. I'll trace it all the way across. You'll see. But that is the Etruscan Asherah. It's all one big syndicate, and it is all about the money. I'm Professor Thomas Henry Horan, asking you to please stay plugged in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
He reads everything.
You better bet your bippy he reads everything. Thank you so much, guys. I won't keep you all day. It's a gorgeous day. At some point, I'll be going on Walter's show again, talking about why Google and Apple are shitting their pants over Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, Punic death. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Carthaginians. It's all one hot pot. It's all one. What do you call it? It's all one big fondue pot of human flesh. Oh, I wanted to point out something. When the Israelites are taken east, Jeremiah is foaming at the... Jeremiah really lets them have it over building tophers, which are used to sacrifice children, like Abraham. Just so you know. I'll see you guys later. Sweet dreams.